Brosnan, handsome fella, right?
Sure.
I'd do him.
What do you guys think of Pierce?
I love Pierce.
Pierce.
Pierce is hot.
He's hot, man.
He's hot. He is
I
hot.
think he's handsome. I don't know if hot, but I think he's handsome.
Hot,
handsome
he's
are
sexy,
synonymous.
and he's handsome.
All right,
It stays in the broccoli family.
Remember, kids, eat your vegetables.
Yes. He's smooth.
Bond fucks good,
Yeah.
and that makes him mad, I guess.
I, too, would be mad.
And the world is not enough. You will notice we are a little ahead again. Or maybe you haven't watched any of these and you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? So don't worry about it if not. We had technical difficulties on the original of this one. So we're here again. Yada yada. The world is not enough. The third Pierce Brosnan feature. Let's just run through the plot and bullet points real quick. I'm going to leave some stuff out. It's Bond. There's like 9 storylines and a bunch of horrors to fuck, so let's just keep rolling,
Let's get fucking.
An exchange with a Swiss banker goes south. Bond handles it, or so he thinks. There are explosives with the money that gets set off when the man receiving the money gets close and it goes off. He chases the suspect who would rather blow herself up in a hot air balloon than tell anyone who she's working for. Their enemy is Renard, who has a bullet in his brain and is slowly dying and can't feel any pain. Bond protects Elektra, who he thinks is good, then bad, then good, then knows she's bad. Bond works with Christmas. They leave the rest of the holidays at home, and they save the day from Renard and Elektra. Christmas came more than once that year. /night.
Oh, I fucking hate that so much, man. Like, out of all the things, like, that is just my least favorite ever.
I can't believe that's how they ended the movie. It makes me laugh every time.
Just the immediate, shit, what even was it? You have the quote there, right?
Yeah, he goes, I was wrong about you. And he was like, what? He was like, I thought Christmas only came once.
Yeah. And then immediate roll credit.
Yeah.
Like, it's so bad. Fucking kills me.
Yeah, mind blowing. What'd you like?
I kind of feel like number one, just with having to go through them again, I like them more this time around.
Just like License to Kill.
Yeah. So I feel like that's going to be kind of a common thing if I come back to any of these. Really, that I'm probably going to enjoy it on that second round. Having maybe that space in between watches helps out a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I gotta say, I thought overall it was pretty good. It still kind of had some of that convoluted storyline there, but it was pretty action packed. It was pretty always on. Our girls were hot. We had the convoluted plot.
Yeah.
We checked a lot of the Bond boxes, and overall, I think Pierce Brosnan. I'm just liking him more recently now, and just the way that he portrays kind of that more serious character and seems to have a little bit more of the upper hand because he's trying, rather than having the upper hand because his name is James Bond.
Right.
So I think of so many of the scenes where, James gets led into a boss room by at gunpoint, to talk to somebody. And then, like, when he was going to meet up with Zukovsky, he was the guy who, hit one of the bad guys, knifed him to the bar, took out his gun, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to go talk to Zukovsky now. Grabs one of the other henchmen, leads him into the room with the gun.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like is trying harder and is probably a better spy overall than, some of our other guys. So I really like kind of the way that he portrays Bond, I think, now more than some of the other guys.
I've always liked Brosnan, but that was the first Bond I was really introduced to as a kid.
Sure.
If Bond, that made me think when you were talking about that, how like his advantage just because he's James Bond. It made me think of like if James Bond was an NBA player, he'd just be the guy that gets all the fucking calls and everybody's like, I didn't touch him. I didn't fucking touch him. And they're just like, look, do you want a technical? Or are you gonna keep yelling at me? He's going to the foul line. And like he'd be like the dirtiest player too. It just I don't know. It is funny just to think about that way. As far as what I liked, not hard to watch. They do keep it rolling.
Yeah.
Action was, of course, with most of these Brosnan movies, that's the main thing that comes to mind is the fact that the action is just so outlandish Like, you're just like, no,
Yeah.
not that.
Yeah,
no.
losing my goddamn mind with the chopper, just slicing
saw,
the caviar, warehouse, I guess,
factory, whatever. Yeah,
to shit. That just in its own thing is just like, oh my god, I forgot all about this. But like, it looks cool.
Yeah.
But it was the most ridiculous thing.
Yeah, I don't think it's just like going through the car like butter.
Yeah.
Quite that easy. I don't know. Maybe.
Also, how dare they?
Also, yeah. Well, and then okay, so then that just like throws us to my dislikes, right? Underutilization of a Bond car once again.
Yeah.
You know, we did this in GoldenEye, and now we kind of used the car last movie. We okay. To be fair, we don't kind of use the car. We really used the car in what? Oh, fuck. I grabbed the wrong movie too. You fucking idiot.
Don't worry, we can fix this in post.
We're
just gonna have a weird cut. You know what? I could probably cut out a slice of this just to be on screen the whole time.
Make it look as like goofy as possible too until it's there. So if people are sitting there watching, going like,
"What the fuck?
Why does it look so weird?" And then this part happens. Yeah. Okay. Anyway. Anyway, that sounds like a lot of work, but it's your free time.
I'll take a look. I'll see what I can do.
Or just make it blurry until that happens. That'd be pretty funny too. All right, so yeah, underutilization of a car once again. Basically, it serves its purpose of it's got missiles. He fires the helicopter, and Bullion just sees the car, and he's like, it's Bond.
Yeah.
And then you figure out, like, the plot thickens, because he's like, oh, he works for Elektra too, and Zukovsky.
But just, number one, is Bond being Bond. Like, maybe don't drive your iconic fucking vehicle everywhere when people are supposed to think you're dead.
Yeah, or, like, it's barely, like, you didn't hide it very
Yeah.
well. Like, Bond needs to carry around a fucking...
Well, yeah, he's parked on the pier. Who's going to park there? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
You need to carry around a car cover, dude. Just to... kind of at least try to hide your identity.
Yeah. Well, one of them got to be invisible. If only we had that technology.
Yeah. If he pulls up to a fucking caviar factory, he's like, I think Bond everywhere he goes is getting out of the car and he's like throwing the keys to a guy that's not there, and he's like, and then he looks when he hears the keys hit the ground, and he's like,
well, in this case, the water. He's got to be like, oh fuck.
What the fuck? Yeah. Just like, oh, well, I guess I don't need to get in there again. But, yeah, so dislikes car. And, like, underutilization of a cool trait in a villain. Of, like, this guy that doesn't feel anything. And then we pretty much only see it, like, he holds a hot rock. And then he punches a glass table when he finds out that Bond fucks good. And he's, like, really upset.
Yeah.
It's like, that's as far as we're going.
Yeah, especially with like plutonium and like radiation kind of being a thing. It's like definitely an underutilization of like the actual IRL effects of being exposed to like high levels of radiation potentially.
Yeah,
to where he could be unbothered by it, trying to go through and do this thing, while James is developing cancer by the millisecond, trying to stop him. Underutilization of stuff you can be doing. So yeah, with you there.
And Bond always needs like this one just drives me crazy. Like in general, it's just like Bond always needing saved. Dude, like I don't know. As a kid, like I don't care as much now because I'm just like, Bond, he's a fucking jerk off, whatever.
Sure.
But like as a kid, when you're like, no matter what movie you're watching, if it's Spider-Man, like the hero always has to go through this part where, oh man, he was pinned down. They had him captured here, and like at any moment they could have just killed him. Mm-hmm. And so like it's like that whole thing where you don't want to make excuses for your heroes, And this argument never would come up, But like I feel like as a kid I always thought it would, And so you're like, well, don't even talk about when Bond was captured. It's like, well, yeah, but like he needed help. Like what happened? And it's like, shut up! You shut up! My dad could beat your dad up. And it's like, what? What are you arguing about again? But like the sniper shoots the other guy, so he, so it's like Bond could have been killed 100 times. And it was all,
and that's tradition. You never, kill somebody unless it's moving the plot forward.
Right. So, Yeah. What were your dislikes?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So kind of the plots, being a little convoluted, with the caviar thing not seeming relevant in any capacity. Zagovsky not really seeming relevant until it magically is. Not as bad as some of the others, I think, but definitely kind of pretty rough. So my quote was here. So we got a casino caviar dude magically having ties. That kind of comes up with the oil pipeline princess who kind of framed a spy organization with her father's death and got a crazy man to blow up her competition because of her bomb-ass pussy, is roughly what this boiled down to. So I was like, fine, but, a little iffy for me.
A lot. It's a lot.
little lot of iffy there. Some parts about her, though, do make her like a pretty, kind of great and unexpected Bond villain because of this. Because she doesn't really feel like she's supposed to be the antagonist until, kind of like those real end piece moments, where we realize it's kind of her plan rather than Renard's plan. But also having a boat scene and a ski scene in the same movie is an unforgivable crime for a James Bond series.
It's very Bond.
Yeah.
If there's one thing that Bond writers love, it's a fucking ski scene, and second would be a boat scene. I think we've seen. I don't know. I want to go back through the series and just count the number of ski scenes, because it's insane.
It's excessive.
Yeah.
The only saving grace out of the ski scenes was the ski things. What am I missing on the word?
The little snowmobiles.
The snowmobiles, Christ.
Fans.
Yeah. So those things were the coolest thing. I thought that was like just awesome.
Fatal flaw though is if you touch them, they explode.
Yeah. No, they do have self-destruct buttons entirely surrounding them at all times. So bad design. I don't know why they thought that they were going to get those back. I think that was it Arkhov maybe was the one saying, "Oh, I was supposed to send those back." How am I going to explain that? Yeah. But yeah, unforgivable to both have a boat scene and a ski scene in the same movie.
And the boat one was fun. It was long. It was too long.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what these are about, practically, right? Is like, let's just show you some action.
Yeah.
The little shot where he goes under the water in the boat and he kind of adjusts the top.
Yeah,
that's good.
That's cool.
That's cool. That's a good one. The boat just completely steering full control on land. I might be thinking of another one at this point.
No, he comes up and
yeah. With like no wheels. Like if it was like I can't remember which movie it was now. I want to say it was Moonraker, but when it comes out of the water and then the boat just like kind of sprouts wheels all of a sudden, and it's like, okay, there I see it, but yeah,
it was built for that. But this was Q's retirement mobile for fishing, I think. So
yeah. All right, so bad trailer. I had a woman struggling to decide which man she wants to be with.
It's fair.
Bad. Do you have?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was thinking bad trailer. We kind of framed this as like a conservationist effort kind of thing with the pipeline. So we just take all the scenes of like the villagers kind of rioting and being upset about the pipeline development.
Yeah.
Just shoot it as kind of like a documentary kind of thing. And then I also thought we somehow set it up as kind of like this weird family comedy where like M is this hated mother-in-law and that's why she gets like locked in the like the tower and everything, and why they have some of those random interactions. We just make it like a weird family comedy.
Yeah. My bad summary, I just said oil company looks to corner the market.
Yep. I had a couple here. So local dominatrix expands business prospects. She just had so many weird, sexy things throughout this. The price of oil goes up again. And then Bon Jovi discusses inspiration for Shot Through the Heart.
Nice. Bad casting. I'm going to keep saying it until we're through with the Brosnan, but just Mel Gibson as Bond.
Yep.
Just the fact that that was a possibility is still mind-blowing to me.
Yep. Only one I went with this time was I was thinking about swapping M with Betty White, but having the personality of Rose from Golden Girls. Sure. So just like this dumb, ditzy kind of person running the show. I thought that would be fun.
Indeed. All right, so just kind of some of the stuff we were talking about. Opening scene is cool. Gadgets, spy stuff, more than we get from some of these opening scenes.
Definitely.
And it actually had to do with the plot of the fucking movie, which
should be the only way these happen.
Yeah. Annoys the shit out of me when it's like, oh, what was that about? Oh, it didn't fucking matter? Cool. Moneypenny is just still being Moneypenny. The whole cigar thing in the beginning was...
I know where I can put this. I was like, Christ!
It's like, Jesus, Moneypenny.
It's like, do you have a mop in here? You clean all that up down there? Christ.
Chocolates, an engagement ring, that whole bullshit, right. What'd you think of the song?
I feel like I didn't care for it much the first time around, but then after watching it again, I found myself singing it later that day, so I think I maybe liked it this time around. So the song may be doing a little bit better for me, just with that chorus kind of coming in.
Yeah.
But as far as like the actual visuals and stuff going through it, I actually thought kind of like the oil slick looked on all the girls and some of like the animation stuff they did around that actually looked pretty neat. So I think overall I kind of like this more because I'm pretty sure I bitched about it last time. But I feel like it was kind of growing on me this time around, and we had a lot more softer silhouettes. Pretty sure we saw a couple of nipples throughout it, which is always bonus points for me. Yeah. But overall, I thought it was fun.
Yeah, I feel like we did ourselves a tremendous disservice in the summer, where it was fun because we would essentially the three of us watch a Bond movie and then come on here and just say
destroy it.
Yeah, just say as many terrible things about it as we could because, we were like, I mean, Harley and I did the first, just the up to Diamonds Are Forever, and then you came in for the Roger Moore's, and then, I mean, it was like every week, just like, the fuck's up with that, man? And whereas, like, I feel like if we spaced it out a little bit,
we might have enjoyed them individually a little bit more. I don't know.
Or not. Maybe if we go back and watch the Roger Moore ones now, we're still like, huh? But
yeah, no, honestly, I was with some of these. It's like, I feel like this, kind of going back through them again here. I was like, maybe I do enjoy these more than I did initially.
Yeah. I mean, because the Timothy Dalton one, when we went back and did License to Kill, I was like, oh, this isn't, I mean, it's still bad.
Sure.
But this isn't terrible, per se.
Wasn't as bad as kind of we'd reflected on last.
I mean, I guess when you're going through those Roger Moore ones, and then look, Roger Moore is fun. I liked Roger Moore. Roger Moore eyes are definitely a thing, like that's, excuse me,
it's
a
iconic.
fun thing. Yeah. And Connery, I would almost say he's my favorite Bond just because of the way he carries himself and just how he's so easy to make fun of in the way he does everything and the way he speaks, obviously. But I don't know. We'll see once we get done with Craig and kind of review everything. But
sure.
I don't even know where I started at this point. So we'll just move on to the next thing.
We came from the intro theme into all of this. So what were your thoughts on the intro?
The song.
Yeah.
Yeah, roughly similar to yours. Nipples are obviously bonus points. It is cool that as we, because you can tell when they took a movie off on the intro, like you remember in Octopussy, it's just like as cheesy as it could be.
Yeah.
And I just felt like not a lot of effort put into it. And then, you get into these Brosnan era ones, and I feel like we've had decent effort on everything, and just at least visually being like, okay, what's that?
Yeah.
Just you're paying attention to it. You're not just checking out and going like, all right, one of the fucking credits over, which I feel like is a service the Bond movies have always done for you, is just trying to, kind of ease you through, show you the opening credits, but like still entertain you.
Yeah.
Whilst doing it.
Well, it's got it, especially just with the amount of time it takes up. Doing those intro scenes in general. You want to have kind of your intro credits and stuff, get everyone's name out there, all that's fine and dandy. But just actually entertaining you and not just having like a placeholder of there's this stuff going on and back to the plot.
Yeah, like I mean, you hear and it's a featured song every time, and so you're not just going to be like the like you're less likely to just fast forward through the credits. It's
Yeah.
the most airtime credits probably get is Bond movies.
Yeah, I'd say so.
So did a good job again. I've been talking a lot. What do you got?
Yeah. So I kind of wanted to talk about Elektra just in general a little bit, and kind of how you felt with her being, kind of the villain that ends up coming out of this, even outside of Renard. How do you feel like it handled in as far as like the way they set us up and kind of misdirected us towards Renard for all of this, and then it kind of being seemingly coming a lot more from Elektra?
Well, it was cool to see. I mean, because I feel like often in these movies we are, misled.
Yeah.
But only because they're telling the plot in like a stupid way. And you're just going like, wait, who's got the bombs? Especially some of those Roger Moore ones and, whatever.
Yeah.
So to see, to have the ability to do, if I quote Charles, because Charles always says press X to doubt, but to have the ability to press X to doubt, with, some of Elektra and her shenanigans, because there is a couple points there where you're going like, you might be evil. And then, there are those opportunities where you can figure it out yourself. Whereas I don't like, not to bring up Scream when there's not a fucking reason to, but I feel like the first Scream, if you really, put your mind to it, even the second one, if you really put your mind to it and you're thinking about it, I mean, now granted, Billy Loomis's mom, sorry, spoilers, in Scream 2.
If you haven't seen Scream 1 or 2, that's on you.
It's kind of out of left field, I mean, if you ask me, right? But I guess you could have said that reporter lady, right? But once you get to 3, 4, 5, 6, by the way, 5's garbage, don't watch it. 6 actually isn't that bad. I just watched it. But they will kill the killer. And so you rule them out. Because if you're sitting there like me, like the loser I am, taking notes, like, I think it's them. I think it's him. Oh, it might not be him. When you see the director dead, you're like, well, that guy's ruled out. And then they're like, oh, he was acting like he was dead. And you're like, well, hold on. All I have to go off of is what you're telling me. And you told me he's dead. So that doesn't count.
How am I supposed to play the game if you keep fucking the game up?
Yes, you stacked the deck for you, and you're like...
It's like, it's cheater's Monopoly, but then on top of that, you're also cheating.
Yes. So, yeah, it was fucking... That 3, 4, 5, 6 all pissed me off because they'd kill the killers, and then you're going, what? So, I mean, they didn't kill all the killers in 6. I'm not going to... spoil that one for you. That one is a little more recent. But 6 is good. 5's fucking garbage, but 5 had to crawl so that 6 could walk. So, that's
Very
all
passionate.
I'll say about that. Well, because you just started so well with Scream. I thought the first one, and then I felt like, 2's like okay, but it's a step down, and then the rest of them just get bullshit. 5 is absolute, utter fucking garbage. But yeah, anyway. What were we talking about again? Elektra. Yeah, so I felt like you had a chance to figure it out yourself, and if you were paying attention enough, you did figure it out.
Yeah, she talked about a lot of points with, kind of bitterness into them. We're talking about like her mother's, country and kind of their lineage. And her father kind of taking over all of that, ruining the land. That's why she's trying to preserve, some of those things, moving the pipeline around, certain places for like those villagers there.
So I liked it.
Yeah, definitely things to pick up on.
Yeah.
Imagine paying attention during a movie, though, to pick up on things.
Right. Woo! I mean, that is the fucked up thing, too, is like you're kind of watching some of these Bond movies and you go like, you're just doing it for fun.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait, who's that guy?
Yeah.
He's the bad guy?
Why is Zukovsky back on screen again?
Yeah. That guy's in this one, too? Yeah. Desmond Llewellyn, he died like 5 months after this.
Yeah.
3 weeks, I'm sorry. 3 weeks after this movie came out. At 85. That was in 2000. So R.I.P. Desmond Llewellyn. I mean, he might have been a terrible person, but I'm assuming as cool as he was in these movies, I liked him. So I kind of assumed. I guess he was on his way from a book signing and got in a car accident.
Yeah.
So that sucks. But his send off in this movie. I mean, he already knew it was the last movie, so that's what kind of sucks even more about it. But he says, first, never let them see you bleed. He says, I've taught you two things, 007. He goes, first, never let them see you bleed. And he goes, second, there's always have an escape plan. And he lowers into the floor. So,
yeah. So satisfied and a real nice way to leave him off.
Send off for Desmond Llewellyn.
For sure.
Yeah. HR gets things. Bond gets things done, HR approved or not.
Yeah. Well, as is tradition, you can bypass any level of paperwork by sleeping with somebody.
Uh-huh.
So, if you need anything done, then sleep with the people who work at the bank. I'd start, bodying some, cashiers at Kroger's, get discount on the groceries.
Yeah.
Whoever you got to take home with you to make your life easier, get started today.
Don't take them home. Don't prolong this process. Get them in a storage closet. Sleep with that cashier right there at the front counter. Everybody will get uncomfortable and leave, and security guards might be called. But then you finish up real quick. Grab your cart, get the fuck out of there.
Yep. Contact Russ is not responsible for any damages or crimes committed based on the advice listed here.
What he said. What do you got?
Yeah. So one of the other things I want to talk about, I guess, is just the Bond actually being prepared in a little bit of that action hero throughout all this, rather than vacationing his way through spy missions. Mm-hmm. So just in general, just being able to, I talked about the scene where he was meeting up with Zukovsky. He kind of commanded authority throughout that, I feel, and was on top of things. We still had a couple of scenes where he was more so captured. And all that, but I feel like overall he just did a really good job of actually, taking control of the situation and out-spying, out-maneuvering kind of everyone else involved in that. So yeah, we just really enjoyed the fact that we're not vacationing through things, and I think it's just what I really enjoyed about Pierce Brosnan in general. He just gets shit done.
We are trying to make him a spy. Yes. Yeah. Very strong vacation vibes with Connery. You get the vibe a lot of the time with Connery that he's on vacation and then he's like, are you fucking serious? They're here? I gotta do something tonight. So yeah, I feel you there for sure.
Yeah.
I was happy to see Zukovsky again. I know it was kind of really this guy again, but I mean, I think he's great. I love his line when he sees Bond where he's like, why am I suddenly worried I'm not carrying enough insurance?
It's you should be. And apparently it was life insurance is what he should have been worried about. But
and then Elektra shows up and they're doing the whole, we'll play one card, high draw. Which is just her being dumb.
Yeah.
Right? And then she just made me think of Austin Powers in that scenario. Austin Powers, I also like to live dangerously. Yeah. Just her stupid line of what's the point of living if you can't feel alive? One card draw. I could not help but just think of Austin Powers there.
It is stupid because number one, it's not what is the enjoyment of showing up for 45 seconds and losing $1 million?
It's that gambler's rush, man.
I don't know. I feel like maybe,
the stakes are high.
Maybe he'd play the game twice, $500,000 a pop. Let's not fuck about, but
it's true. Yeah, what you got?
Yep. So I wanted to talk about just the conversation that Renard and oh Christ,
Electra?
Yeah. I don't know why the name just comes. I was only thinking about Zukovsky in my head, and that would have been an odd pairing with what I'm about to talk about. But after they boned,
after Renard and Zukovsky were done boning,
that's a deleted scene. If you can't find it on your DVD copy, please message me and Tyler. Thank you.
It was in Sean Connery's estate.
But they're kind of having the conversation, where he obviously can't feel anything, but he's like, rubbing her all sensually and shit.
Yeah.
And talking about, how she's soft and warm. She's like, you can't even feel anything. Yeah, how would you know, or whatever. And I kind of just thinking in general, I was like, this is kind of the most like prolonged horny scene we've had. We just have a very naked lady. We saw her for a long time. They're being very sensual.
I forgot to mention we did see her nipple earlier. If you go frame by frame, which is we talked about it when we did this originally.
Yeah.
In the defiled audio. But yeah, if you're going slow, her tit is in range, which means she was in bed shirtless with Pierce Brosnan. So these, like I said, when we had the handsome hot argument with Harley.
Yeah.
And I'm going he's hot. These ladies are excited to jump into bed naked with him.
I would say so. To me, there's no doubt. That is a hot man.
I mean, my wife, who I'm pretty sure is a woman, said that he was hot. So,
and that is the measurement that we utilize for all things.
Woman opinion.
Yeah.
But go on with what you were saying. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So just that whole scene in general, right? So it's like he's trying to be all sensual with her. It's this very prolonged thing, which number one is just kind of weird. We had extended horny time there. He punches that weird glass table thing that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And then that's when we find out that Elektra has this like ice cube fetish. She grabs the ice cubes, picks out the glass out of his hand, is rubbing it over, and they get all kind of weird and haughty. And then we get her like laying down. It's this nice like side profile thing, and she's running the ice cube down her face into her butthole probably. And it's just it just felt like such a awkward scene to be in this. And I just don't know why it was meaningful or why it had to go on for this long. Not that I'm directly unhappy with being able to watch it, but it just felt like this screen time could have been better spent somewhere else.
Well, especially when it's almost awkward because it's like that's what you were just saying. But for the actors, for like dude, he's like, oh, I can't feel anything, and then she's like, you remember pleasure, and she starts doing the ice cube thing,
and he's like, no, I can't feel anything,
and then he's just kind of like watching like.
Just heavy breathing noise.
And it's just funny. It's like, wait, so then like, can he feel all of a sudden? Like, what is the significance of this scene?
Think more of the mental stimulation rather than the physical stimulation,
Sure.
So like his brain is turned on. Yeah, you know what? Could this dude get a boner? Does he have the physical capabilities?
But he wouldn't know.
He wouldn't know.
Oh man, what if he's just walking around with boners in public?
God. That would be the worst.
Oh man.
Just like really uncomfortable like team meetings and stuff where he's like standing around walking just full mask.
Yeah, she's got like an arm around him and shit. Like he doesn't even know he's turned on. And yeah, he's just like got full tent pants going on.
God.
Black is slimming. Yeah, wear a lot of black. No one will see your pants tent.
He started wearing dresses for some reason. I don't know why. They're all like these big billowy things.
He started wearing like fucking like medieval dresses that have the fucking cage, like Pirates of the Caribbean style dresses with like the fucking
you'd probably just get like a holster or something, just strap it in there.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So fucking dumb.
These are the things we think about watching James Bond movies.
Yeah, hopefully this is what you're arriving for. Is like half the movie breakdown and half whatever stupid ass things we come up with while we're doing this. Yeah, the ice fetish thing definitely starts like beginning of that movie though, when she like keeps getting ice cubes and wants to like kiss Bond with the ice cubes still in her mouth, like Lady and the Tramp
so
style
odd.
of the ice cubes, and then Bond's like, enough ice. And just like that's when they roll over and bang, and that's where you see the tit if you go slow. So things progress obviously. I mean, I'm all the way at the bomb thing underground, so I don't know where you stopped or whatever.
I'm everywhere.
You're everywhere.
Yep. Zawenya. So you're at the like where they're like Christmas is actually like decommissioning the. Okay, I hear you there. So I appreciated the fact just that James is the master of all languages and can try and throw his Russian around a little bit.
Yes.
And that it buys him a couple minutes of time before Christmas remembers or looks up his documentation for some reason. I don't even really know if there was a meaningful reason for her to double check any of that, but
Well, she was suspicious of him, and then you know.
But it's nice that all those personnel files are just handily available on site for her to review. But that's fine.
we're what 99 here is when it was made, so I mean, there's some computers, right?
I guess. But overall, I do like just the fact that like Christmas is a little bit like more of a gal with a bite rather than just your token bimbo kind of thing. Even though that's what she ends up devolving into. Just that kind of initial reaction and interaction is that she actually is just
Did you know Christmas comes more than once a year?
I didn't know that. It's only on my calendar the one time, so this is news to me.
Well, if you're with the ladies I've shacked up with.
Okay, well, Sean, listen, okay, I just don't have that kind of free time. I can't go on vacation every weekend.
Oh, live a little, you fucking vagina.
Yeah, well, you'll hear from my lawyer. And probably a lot of women's lawyers as well. Not, specifically female lawyers, but the lawyers on behalf of women, just so we're clear.
Just smack them around a bit.
Sean, we told you got to stop doing that, or at least stop saying it on recorded lines. This is how you get in trouble.
I was hoping you'd say the male thing.
The male thing.
That interview. Whatever interview he did with that lady who was like,
oh,
so
yeah,
you
yeah.
believe it's right? And she's like, you're going to get some male. And he's like, might get some female.
Yes. 100% recovery on Sean's part in that interview. It was so good.
He's a gem.
Yeah.
He was probably a piece of shit, but he's a gem. Anyway.
We think back fondly all the time there. But yeah, so very convenient though that he goes down there. He finds Renard. He tries to kind of start his shit and almost just pops him right then and there, which he probably should have. But one of the scenes I want to talk about in that sequence that I think we brought it up last time too is after Renard and crew are like trying to make their escape, they're closing down like those hatch doors and stuff that are closing in. James does like a full dive through one of the doors as it's closing. Yeah. And in that scene, in the actual video, the gun goes off. You don't hear any sound for it, but like you see the flash on the gun go off and everything as he's doing his dive and roll. Yeah. But there's no audio accompanying it. He rolls it and there's no kind of thing, but it's just the oddest thing that they decided to not go back and either add a sound for or just take the flash away or try something with it.
And it is funny when you go, because I remember when we did that, because we watched that frame by frame.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's not Pierce Brosnan, because obviously stunt guy.
Right.
Like, this isn't anything new, any new information, but it was just funny of like, well, that's some guy named Dave or something,
Oh, boy.
But, yeah. I just liked the whole, like, plot thickens thing. What are you doing? Oh, okay. I like that the plot thickens a couple times. It's just like Electra Renard connection. Bullion's working for them,
Also, just the coolest name for a henchman.
Yes.
With all the gold stuff there. Gold bullion.
You also would have thought that, like Bullion, just the whole titles thing and, henchman and everything. In Goldfinger, like, he's just, like, obsessed with gold. Like, and then he paints women gold. Like, nothing really happens all that related to gold. I mean the prize is gold, but that's about it. And then...
It's just kind of gimmicky.
And GoldenEye is, like, this piece of technology. And then there's no gold at all. There's not a guy with a golden eye. There's not a guy with gold teeth, like in that other fucking thing. I don't know. It's just weird. Things don't match up. You know what I mean?
Like, we could have picked you up and dropped you into a place that made more sense with the gold theme.
Take Bullion and make him be the henchman. Now, look. Odd Job is a great
Phenomenal.
henchman. I'm not saying anything bad about Odd Job. All I'm simply mentioning is, what if Odd Job also had gold teeth and wasn't called Odd Job and was called Bullion? That's all I'm saying. Anyway.
But then who would you call if you need someone for an odd job?
Well, maybe Odd Job's in GoldenEye because there was actually no gold and no eye.
But what if he had a golden eye?
He could have a golden eye.
What
and
if this
gold
was
teeth.
like Pegasus from
It'd be called
Yu-Gi-Oh and he
William.
had the eye thing? You got options, just saying.
Yeah, there's a lot.
You know what? Yu-Gi-Oh came out a lot later. That wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say anything on that one, but I was.
It's
like,
all right.
We'll just leave it alone.
It's better when I figure out I'm dumb rather than having it pointed out to me.
I mean, we all do it,
Sure.
so it's okay. All right, where you at? What you got?
Yep. So Bernard escapes. Everything's fine and dandy. As they're in their vehicle actually leaving, they're just continuing to like shoot all of the people outside for fun, mostly. Like we only got like a couple second clips of it, but like they're definitely just all four of them like shooting everybody nearby as everything explodes and they run away.
Yeah,
And I thought that was a nice touch.
kind of like in like View to a Kill.
Yeah.
When
Little less.
just a little less intentional,
Yeah.
for sure. But I just love that Walken's just like,
cackling.
and just he loves that he's just mowing everybody down.
Yeah, that is the most aggressive murdering in any James Bond movie that we've seen so far.
Good
so,
old Max Zorin.
yeah, Sugaway.
I did love that in the beginning of that movie they felt they needed to say, this is not based on any real life.
Because there had
characters.
to have been something during shooting where it was like, oh, this is like something like this kind of happened once. Like that had to have been why. But like they had the company name, I think, is something that had a relation, right? Wasn't there like a company that was involved that did exist, and they had to make sure it was clear that they weren't involved?
I don't remember enough to speak confidently about it.
That's what I seem to be thinking, but
But yeah, that sounds right.
yeah.
Yeah, you got something else?
Yep.
Yeah.
So just after this, Electra calls M and is kind of like trapping her into coming out a little bit to go with all of this, which
Right.
just should have been odd because what's she gonna do? She can command from home, Work from home was an option for her back in the day. All she has to do is tell people what to do.
Very early on, yeah.
Yeah. So it just seemed odd that like she fell into that trap quite so easily. I mean, I get, it just doesn't even make sense because you already know that she's kind of unhappy with you guys. She didn't want MI6 involved in any capacity, and then to like emergency call and be like, I need you. You should come personally and probably have as minimum protection as possible.
Yeah. So, all right. So we're going on. I like the flying saws, and to see that, like, it was funny when you saw them in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, it's good foreshadowing.
And then you're like, wonder if those will come in later. And then you're at the Beluga factory, and you're like, yep, there they are. So that's fun. I don't know if that was a bark or a person.
Just struggles getting the door open, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Zukovsky's fun at the Beluga factory.
Yeah.
Who let you in? I need to call security and congratulate them.
Yeah, it small things like that where it's like, I wonder what his daily life is like. Is that every now and then he just maybe gets like a hot girl that shows up at his factory to bang in a really cheap, rusted out metal box? Like what? Like how is this the place you want to be for any of this? And why are you acting like, oh yeah, this happens?
Yeah,
This makes sense.
Yeah, it must not have been a first, right?
Yeah.
And then Bond like pops out from behind the door and he goes, "Don't you ever just say hello like a normal person?"
No, we're past that.
And then all that helicopter stuff happens. And then I'm all the way like, at that last confrontation before the submarine.
Sure. Yeah, so one of the things I did just want to touch on was when Bond did kind of go back and have that interaction with Electra, where he was kind of accusing her a little bit of the double crossing, and how like sensitive and childishly upset he was about it. I thought that was kind of hilarious. Because he was just so salty about the fact. It was like, oh, you were just fucking him, weren't you? This is all part of your plan. You're in love with him. And like going through all this stuff. It was just so funny to watch a Bond just like get super jealous and insecure.
He really has fallen for Brosnan's Bond. Really fallen for the women.
Yeah.
The past two movies, at least.
Yeah, well, I get that maybe that is kind of in an effort to show that, like, he acts on these feelings in a more meaningful way rather than just, bone for bone. But yeah, in this case, it just came off like super cringy.
Yeah. Well, and then she's mad, and she's like, what? You're just making love to me to pass the time?
Yep.
And it was kind of like, oh, I mean, that's what he does, lady. Like,
it's in the job description.
Is this the first year hearing a James Bond?
Is this your first Bond? Are you new?
Man, if you weren't dead,
here's the card to that women's support group.
Yeah, like if you weren't dead, you should definitely go to the women's support group.
Oh man.
Well, it was just funny too, because like, it's definitely something he does. Remember in I think it was Moonraker, and he's what was it Moonraker? They're in a random country at some point, and there's some big festival going on, and he like meets this girl, and he's like, he's sitting in the room and like, it's 6 hours till blah-da-da, and she's like, huh. And, he's like, so what will we do to pass the time? And then he starts, like, tugging on her clothes, and then, like, cut scene, and they're at the festival.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, that's exactly what he does to pass the time.
What else is he going to do? Read? He's going to take a nice hot bath.
He's gonna bone. He's going to bathe. He might bone again. And then he's gonna eat some caviar.
Yeah, he's gonna get his scotch, his snatch, and his steak.
Steak, scotch, and snatch.
Yeah,
and he's gonna take a big old nap, and then he's gonna wake up, clean up, and go.
Oh man, I kind of love the idea of him being like just this like big dumb kid who's like, I'm gonna eat my food, I'm gonna fuck my bitch, I'm gonna drink my drink, and take a nap, and after that I'm gonna save the world.
Yep.
Oh god.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask about is, when they go through the that like pipeline, they're trying to intercept the bomb.
Yeah.
That little vehicle thing that they drive through it, that can't be real, right? Like, I was thinking about that when I was watching it. I was like, it's the circular thing, and it's driving through, and it just, I don't understand how it could possibly keep straight. I don't understand how the controls on it would let it go 70 miles an hour. I was like, none of this shit adds up. And like, I just was like, is it just on that realm of like weird enough technology that like maybe there is a use case for it? We actually needed that to be there, or is it just Bond tech? They're like, would be cool.
Well, if we go back to Diamonds Are Forever, to the great Connery, he does get thrown in a tube underground, and then there's this machine that's going through there that's like going through, and it's kind of like sealing inside.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't remember if you watched Diamonds Are Forever or not, but it's doing like the zap 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 thing.
Yeah,
it's like going along like zap 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 zap. So I don't know. I mean, if that's around, and I believe Diamonds Are Forever was 71, maybe we're slowly moving up.
Maybe it does make sense.
But I mean, there are some, I don't know. There's some turns there that are kind of, I don't know.
It's one of those things that seems like it's such a specialty kind of tool that it's like, why would you need it? Because I think on the like speedometer, was saying it could go up to like 100 miles an hour or something. And like, I didn't see no seatbelt. That thing cannot be OSHA certified.
Because I don't think it was supposed to have people on.
Yeah. It had hand controls though.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that's weird. But the other thing there is, if they fly off of that thing at 70, like, I don't know that it's exactly realistic that they're okay. But whatever.
Yeah. But even with just the bomb going off in there, I mean, all that heat and stuff is, going to go through the tunnel, just as much as it's going to, go out into the earth where the hole was made. So it's like, they should have been baked in there after that bomb went off. They couldn't have stood a chance.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it, does it?
No.
Yeah, so Bond gets put in Elektra's weird sex chair.
Such a dog.
Break his neck. And, so Zukovsky comes in, he's shot, and then he, one last thing, he shoots the...
arm shackle.
Yeah. arm shackle when Bond's stuck in the chair so he can get himself out. And Elektra's conclusion is, Sokovsky really hated you. And then he's able to break out of the sex chair. And
Yeah. You would have thought like maybe the big ass smile on his face as he looked at Bond might have tipped you off.
Yeah. And
Or-
the whole like nod before he dies.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Also just was kind of odd in general that, he's got a cane gun, which is dope. There's just no
And
other way
we
around it.
We just breeze right by it, of course.
Yeah. But, he pulls it up. He's pointing at her. And then, like, just for way too long, slowly pans over to Bond. It's like, I mean, he's shot and dying. Obviously, he's trying to line up a shot. You could just kick the cane out of his hands. Ended any potential risk here.
Yeah.
And then, everyone would have died. But because she just assumed that everybody hates Bond.
I mean, if you've watched enough of these, you're kind of like, I mean, it's not the craziest thing I've ever heard.
But should that really be the criteria? Is that the scale we weigh against? It's like, I've seen worse. It kind of is.
It might be.
It kind of is.
But yeah, I would just love the alternate scene where, because Bond goes and chases her up the stairs and all this shit. And she's like smiling, grinning like it's a fucking just like
she's having a game, yeah.
She's a kid, really. And, he's climbing upstairs and then you hear M go like, Bond! And so then he, comes in real quick and shoots the shackles and keeps running up the stairs. And I would just love like the alternate scene where he goes in to try to shoot the shackles and he accidentally shoots her and she's just like, and he's like, and he just keeps running up the stairs.
Yeah. So he runs in, he shoots them, and he's just like, fuck. He's like, I could stay here and help her, but the girl and the thing and the bomb. Sorry, M. Just runs upstairs.
He just like shoots a couple more times, misses the shackles every time, and he's like, I gotta go.
He's still hitting her, like she's got like 5 bullet holes.
Trying to like move, and she's like,
Yeah, like 5 bullet holes in her, and she's just like, go, just go,
just leave me. Leave me to die.
Oh man, poor M.
Yeah.
Girl never stood a chance.
So the Bond feelings thing, this is where I had another point. Because I said that earlier, I didn't really follow up on it. But the feelings in the past 2 movies are funny when you comp it to, like, From Russia with Love. Where you're like he's just, like, this girl is just falling all over him.
Yeah.
And he doesn't give a fuck, And he's like trying to get her to talk into the the transmitter thing about the Lecter, and like it's like, James, will you make love to me and wherever they're going? It was like day and night now, the Lecter, And then like at the end of the movie, she was fucking drugged, and so she's all like, oh, I can't like run and shit, like understandable that she's not top physical performance right now, and. She fucking, she's doing that, and he's like dragging her along, and he like does not. He's like, "Come on, I'll leave you." Like just keeps like yelling at her as they're going, and she's all like,
Like maybe have some compassion there, Bond.
So to compare like Bond killing this girl here to From Russia with Love is just really funny.
It's because I really think a lot of the other Bonds, they exclusively hate fucked everybody. It's just there's not a lot of compassion or interest involved. It's just I need to carry around this, cum receptacle with me until I can finish out this movie and get paid.
Well, and it's so interesting that it really ended with the Dalton, but they held on to he had a wife that died. They held on to that Lazenby storyline, where he got married for 5 minutes and then she got shot.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just like irritated the fuck out of me that it like came into play in the Roger Moore stuff, because I'm like, look, if it was Connery and Lazenby and that was it, they looked similar enough to where it'd be like, okay. But then the Moore movies looked different enough as you went through than the Connery movies. And Roger Moore himself looks different enough than fucking Connery.
Yeah.
that it was like, why are we still acting like this is the same guy? And then into the Dalton movies. Like, up into fucking, I think License to Kill was 89 or something like that. Or maybe 86. I don't remember.
Either
Doesn't
way,
matter.
Wife's been dead a long
Mid to
time.
late 80s. It was 69 was On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're acting like this guy in 86 is the same guy. I don't know. It just, like, irritated me. And so, but I guess they wanted that, like, soft side of Bond, even though he didn't give a fuck about any of the other women the whole time.
Yeah.
And so then to see the change with the Brosnan thing, where it's like, and they kind of lazily do it, but it's better to me than doing the whole, like, oh, he was married and his wife died. And it was like, how close could he have been? They were married for like 5 minutes, and he met her like a month ago.
Yeah.
And like, whatever. But then Brosnan, it's the lazy thing of, like, in the last movie, how he's like, you know, oh, they had a relationship, like, you know, a little while, like, they were together for a while, and then he left because he was a spy and he was afraid of getting close, and then she dies, and he's like, sniffs her dead hair. You know, and you're like,
That's not
what?
creepy, though.
That's weird, but, like, odd that he cares so much, even though he left her in the first. So, like, he did care, and then, like, here he, like, cares, even though she's evil and, like, fucked with him. And I don't know.
I feel like he probably
odd
is
woman
more
dynamics.
sensitive to like Bond villain women. You know, I think he likes a little bit of the danger zone.
Yeah.
It's like, I can fix her. it's the battered kind of thing. He's the one who actually has Stockholm, you know, where he's like, I can fix this, I can turn her around.
Or he's, like, Bond's the woman in the scenario. Like, women always like projects, you know.
Oh,
why they
yeah.
get, like, fucked up men. And so, like, that's, you know, it's Bond is, he likes the fucked up women who's like, I can fix her, I can fix her.
Yeah. Nope, I like that idea.
I've talked a lot. What do you got?
Yeah. So yeah, with kind of the pursuit through the tower and kind of that final confrontation, all that was nice and dandy. She tells Renard to go along and, you know, do the dive, start the plan. Bond just shoots her immediately, which is like, just fucking shoot her ahead of time, bro. Like, we could have saved a lot of hassle if we had maybe just, you know, popped her as soon as we got up there. So that was dumb. And then Bond just, like, mildly thinking about necrophilia for a couple minutes as he was, you know, hanging over a dead body. He was like, I could fuck this.
Like, if M didn't come in, and
Yeah.
it might have been a different, or if she came like 2 minutes later.
Yeah, he might have been, you know, knuckle deep, but yeah, just it was, you know, as much as a tender moment as it probably should have been. It just felt a little bit like, I could fuck her.
Yeah, was he horny or sad?
Yeah. But all things in all, though, cool dive off of that top floor, though, to get to the submarine and get on board. So that was nice. Also, asking this because I don't know, and I don't know if you would. I didn't think you could shoot a gun like when you're in like a pressurized like submarine underwater.
Sure seems that way.
So
Everything I've ever heard.
so I guess that always throws me off is when we just do it sometimes. Because I think there's been like other Bond movies where they've brought it up that they can't shoot in like an underwater kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I was like,
Oh, fuck. That was the thing I forgot to mention in Aliens when we did that. Was the whole thing about, you know, hey, don't shoot down there. You might set off a nuclear reaction. The
And
whole, like,
then-
non-disclosure thing as a rule.
Yeah.
They're just like, hey, don't shoot. Why? Just don't do it.
just don't do it.
And then, you know, all the firing goes on, and then a nuclear thing happens later, and it's like, well, maybe if you told them why,
They were
would've
fighting
just-
for their lives.
they'd have just gone flamethrower.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. Anyway, we're not talking about Aliens. We're talking about Bond. So, yeah. Yeah, no, totally confused by that. Also, yeah, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Um,
But he pretty much just peruses through there. He rescues Christmas. And well, as far as kind of a set piece kind of thing there, I really like it when we get like the normal thing that goes vertical. So think like your train, you know, that's dangling off of, you know, a track or whatever, and now you're trying to traverse it, you know, vertically rather than just walking down the aisle thing.
Yeah.
It's where we ended up getting with like the submarine where it's now, you know, all the way up there. There's something about that, and that might just be like the like platformer game part of my brain that just really loves it, seeing that in anything. You know, where it's like this totally normal, you know, room or hallway or whatever to go against is now infinitely more difficult to get across because now everything is vertical, and how do you handle it kind of thing. And a little bit of that puzzle brain going through on, even just watching the scene for a couple seconds on, I could probably get up if I started climbing this and moved over to this here. Some part of that triggers some part of my brain and gets me going. So I really like seeing that.
Yeah, that and it adds a certain level of unease because nothing is easy.
Yeah.
And so then there's oh fuck, they got to do this fast.
Yeah.
But there's not a whole lot of doing that fast when you're basically running through mud.
Yeah.
So
and kind of just going with that, it's like even just the perspective you get, like, we always usually see from like the top down, so where we can have kind of those vantage points to see where they can grab and go through.
Yeah.
But like usually from the down looking up, you're straining your head to try and see like what even you can do. And it's just probably much more impossible looking from the ground up rather than the top down.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just think stuff like that's so cool.
Yeah. For someone as out of breath as Brosnan was this whole movie, it seemed like he can really hold his breath a long time.
Yeah. It's like 3 minutes or something with him. They opened up that hatch. He got outside, was swimming over to the other hatch to get closer to where Renard was.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It was a lot.
Long holding breath. I can't do that.
No, me either. And then I just thought it was funny that there's that whole that whole last scene, the last like battle between Renard and Bond, and he's got. Well, I have a dumb Dr. Evil thought here with the whole like that big plutonium rod, and I just see Dr. Evil going like the plutonium dildo, but.
Oh my gosh, that would be too good though.
But that whole fight scene, and then Renard's effectively won, and the plutonium dildo's all the way in, and then Bond sees a hose go like, right, and I don't know how nuclear reactors work or how any of it goes.
But apparently, if you plug in a hose into...
plug that one in, and then there's apparently like an eject button or something. And I'm like, well, how does Bond even know how this whole contraption works? Because he knows everything about everything.
Yeah, and there's two sides of it. It's number one, it's like, how can Bond possibly know that's what you have to do? And then number two, what's the actual like engineering design reason that has to exist?
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's
what's the thing that's going to send the fucking plutonium dildo through this
like,
guy?
is it just somehow magically reversing the pressure enough?
Right.
Or like, is that the exhaust and that's why it's able... Yeah, it doesn't...
Was that the exhaust? Is that what we're missing? Like, we don't... like, we didn't get a lot of details. Despite knowing what the story was a little more this time, we did not get a lot of details on why when Bond plugs that hose back in and presses that button, Renard gets fucking dildoed, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. Yeah, I wrote down penetrated, I think, several times in my description here, because everything in this one was just very sexual. But
which definitely fits the plutonium dildo narrative.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and again, kind of in that last fight scene too, do feel like some of the not feeling pain was underutilized.
Yes.
Because with a fight scene,
why
that's
is
where
there
we
no like the guy that doesn't feel pain, like, is it not just like the
yeah, or even just like the if you think about like in your action movies where you punch like the biggest dude and he takes the hit and like only his head turns and then goes back, and it's like, did you just tickle my face? Like, right. That type of thing would have like had so much of an impact of like Bond just like, big hook
just being discouraged
and then
by like nothing happening. Yeah.
Because number one, just seeing Bond get demoralized in anything is just such just desserts. But
yeah.
I don't know why, but seeing him suffer sometimes just makes me feel good. But yeah, if it was something like that where he's just laying in work and then he's just, taking it like a champ, and then kicks his ass.
He's still shoving the rod in.
It should have been something like that. But
yeah,
I guess he didn't have the superhuman gene stuff there that
Max Zorin should have had, but still
didn't really have. Again,
underutilized as they fight on the bridge. He's supposed to be superhuman, and then I don't know that whole But that was. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Underutilized character traits all the way through.
As this movie ends, and they're all like, "Where's Bond?" Because as usual, he's got to be somewhere fucking.
Mm-hmm.
I just love the norm that Bond can't just call and be like, hey, yeah, I'm already here. I'm going to fuck. I'll be there in like 2 to 3 days for some debriefing. Like, I love the fact that they always have to, like, I just picture him, like, getting yanked out of a shower with a woman at some point. You know what I mean? Because, like, Q is always the one that's got to find him, you know, and he's like, hey, what are you doing? And then, you know, like, I think in A View to a Kill, Roger Moore, like, throws a shirt over the camera.
Yeah.
You know? And it's always like a... So, like, does, like, MI6 show up to that house and just like, hey, Bond, come on. He's all naked in bed and he's like, oh, no, come on.
He's like,
come
I don't wanna. I'm boning.
So, I don't know.
We're bonding.
Bondism. Yeah, I don't know why that's always the thing, but it is funny. But then, of course, they see him and it's the whole...
like infrared camera. Yeah.
And then like a leg moves and M's like 007.
Yeah.
And
Funny reaction
Q
from
just,
her,
like,
but yeah.
closes the laptop and he goes, I thought it was funny because it was like 99 when they made this, right? Must be a premature form of the Millennium Bug.
Classic.
So I was like, oh, nice. And then of course I thought Christmas only comes once a year. And, you know, as we talked about earlier, that's how they end the movie. Wow.
Fucking dynamite.
Wow. Balls.
Yeah.
I didn't get our ratings out from what we did last time. What do you have? What did you do?
What would I rate this as?
Yeah.
Like I said, I've kind of been enjoying these overall. I want to say I threw like a 6.7 or a 7.1 at the last one in my kind of retouching. But yeah, I don't know. A 6.7 kind of lands with me pretty good. I like this one quite a bit. It still kind of had its dumb points, but overall, I still enjoyed it quite a bit. And this wasn't a slog for me to go through. There was enough kind of action, and even though it was kind of enough random bullshit to kind of keep me interested and get all the way through it again, which is really all I need.
Really all you need? Really all you can ask for from a franchise, really.
Yeah.
I mean, these franchises are, you know, rinse and repeat, right? So kind of just following the same categories and whatever. Here we are.
Yeah. You got your formula. Make your million. Or your billion.
You indeed said 7-1.
Okay. That makes sense. 6.7 felt right for this.
And I said 7-7, which I feel still is pretty high. Although if we're talking about Bond movies,
Bond enjoyment
10,
in its own, yeah.
We're not talking about a movie rating in general.
That's why the ratings get weird.
Yeah, and that's why the ratings get weird, and that's why I don't like ratings. Like, to be honest with you, like, it either feels pretentious or you don't know enough. And, like, even if you do know your shit, like, some jackass is still going to be like, hey, what the fuck? But, look, this scale is simply about, like, just Bond enjoyment. So, like, obviously, some of them I need to go back through and probably watch again, re-rate. Because, I mean, we got Goldfinger, Thunderball, You Only Live Twice, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, like 6664, you know, which On Her Majesty's Secret Service, 4 sticks. That's not going anywhere. But, yeah, so we definitely got to go through and maybe fix some of those. Yeah, so the next Bond is going to be Die Another Day. I don't know dates or anything, so that's the next thing coming. We are on the YouTube, the Spotify, the Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to us, all the places, if you like us. Twitter, Instagram, follow us there. We post clips and stuff. And if you want to email us, tell us why we're dumb, you know, make suggestions about what we should do differently, programs to watch, whatever. Email us consequenceshotline@yahoo.com. Thank you for listening or watching or whatever you're doing. And thank you. Goodbye.